In this episode,
I make the stainless steel roof rack mounts.
we freeload off the Airbnb our friends booked in Wales.
Summer.
And our stainless steel rusts. So, the roof rack. How am I going to make this work? I saw lots of different designs for how you can do a roof rack, but I never really liked any of them. I ended up settling on the design which I completely stole from someone online. We'll leave a link to it. And it's really nice. It's really simple. It's a bit tricky to make, to be honest, but the concept is simple. The roof rack with these pizzicato stitching relays, they've got these mushroom shaped hard points for mounting the roof rack on. So the idea is this has got a slot cut out at the bottom, which that mushroom shaped bit goes into. So we slot that in, bolts underneath it, and then it's got this top piece that's got a lip and then a long section, and that goes over these bolts. And as soon as that's in place, this is actually now impossible for this to come off. It can't come off this way because the lip stops the mushroom bit from escaping. It can't come up sideways, it can't come up. It's completely stuck on there. That's before you even put any bolts on. And the other advantage is, to me at least, is nothing actually touches the kind of thin steel of the van. All the load is going straight onto this mushroom head thing, and all the clamping load is on this, and nothing else touches the van. So the bottom of this bracket doesn't clamp onto the van, it just goes over the mushroom shaped bit. The L section goes on top, and then you put bolts on, and this clamps the whole thing together. And as I say, nothing touches the van. So it was a bit of a faff to make these, but I really like the design. Okay, so you can see it's a faff to put these bolts on. I need to make a especially thin spanner to hold the bottom of the bolt still whilst you tighten the top. So yeah, I'm not going to say it's not fiddly. It is fiddly, but you know, that's the design. Then on the top, we have two bolts which will accept the aluminium extrusion, which actually forms the roof rack itself. So there is another complication. So depending on how many croissants the Frenchman who built this van had in the morning, they put on a variable amount of this sealant masticky stuff around these attachment points. Some of them on this side are quite nice. You can always tell that a different engineer did this side compared to the other. The other side, the sealant is really high, and I've had to cut the sealant down with a knife to get space for this whole contraption to actually fit down on. The other thing is that these aren't mounted completely flat in this direction. I'll show you what I mean. So this specially modified spanner goes underneath. Then I use 10mm on top, snug them up. Doesn't need to be tight for what I'm doing. And then let's see how flat these are. What I'm looking at is this, basically the gap. There's a bigger gap on this side of the bracket than there is on this side, because the brackets are sort of canted out slightly. Not much, but there's a couple of mil gap here, and there's nothing here. And I don't really want that, because when I clamp this up, it's going to cause a bit of a twisting motion on the clamps, on the sort of mushroom headed bolty things. Now I don't think it really matters, but it's easy to fix, so I might as well fix it. The fix is fairly easy. I basically need to just squish this together. So what I'll do is I'll just use these, I'm going to use these calipers and measure the current width here. It's 39.6mm on that side and 39.5 on the other. So I'll just write that down, because my memories are pooling. I want the bend to be here or on the corners. I don't want the bend to be on the flat spots where the actual, well, the van on this side and then the extrusion, the aluminium extrusion is bolting on this side. I don't want the bend to be here. I want it somewhere around here. So what I'm going to do is I've got some spare little flatty things, and they will go in the vise in order to try and help the bend happen in the right place. I don't want to bend it too much because it's much easier to bend it, to squish it in, than it is much easier to squish it this way than try and expand it out again afterwards. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a bend on there and then put it back in the van and see where we are. So that's now tightened up. That wasn't very much, but that's a little bit of a change, and we'll see what that looks like on the van. And after a couple of iterations and back and forth on the vise, we have this, where there's basically no gap here. So when this clamps together, there's going to be no sort of twisting force on it. Again, probably doesn't matter, but you know, why not?
If you'd like us to make Roy's CAD designs for the roof mount available for download, let us know in the comments.
So this is one of these traditional Welsh days, and we're going to go on a little cycle with our e-bikes off to some lakey reservoir-y bit and some little waterfalls. Oh,
What's the matter?
I've got so much bird shit on my e-bike. I'll give that a little bit of a wipe clean later. I think that spring is actually the water source for the Airbnb. Fair enough. It's like filtered and UV treated, so drinking water. Good stuff. This is a very good reservoir-y thing. And victory!
Mate.
So we're in Llangollen, right? Double L's.
Yeah, double L something.
All the L's. It's very nice. Incredibly busy. It's Sunday. The actual town itself is just swarming with people. So we've just gone to this quiet canal bit with the sign that's telling the houses to not go too quickly. Feel bad about complaining about the people. I cannot complain about the people. I am a people, but the locals must get so annoyed with all these tourists, of which I am one. So I'm putting a bit of a brave face on this because this is a little worrying. So, stainless steel, I don't know, I'm not a proper metallurgist person. I don't do that much metal work, but I bought some stainless steel. Well, it says it was stainless steel. Right, this L channel material, 100%, 100%, definitely some kind of grade of stainless. The obvious test of, does a magnet stick to it? Kind of. Basically, no. A magnet barely sticks to it. Very, very, very slightly, but that's normal. This stainless magnet very much does stick to it. Now you go, oh yeah, but that doesn't mean it isn't stainless. Quite a few grades of stainless are magnetic. This is supposedly 304, which I didn't think was particularly supposed to be magnetic, but there again, this this stainless has been formed. It's been bent into this shape, as opposed to this stainless, which this wasn't bent. This has got a sharp corner on this. So this was I don't know how it's made, but this wasn't a bent material. This material was bent, so maybe that also made it magnetic. The worrying thing is, I decided to be fancy, which is almost always a mistake. If something's not broken, don't fix it, it turns out. I always realise that after that. It's something I try and live by, but I'm incredibly bad at actually doing that. And I decided to try passivating the stainless steel, because that's the thing I heard about. And you clean it with detergent, or preferably alkaline cleaner, I don't have that, and then put it in a citric acid bath for like 20 minutes or so. And when I did that, I noticed, I don't know if you can see in here, there's this like dull coating on the inside. There's a little bit left on the inside corner here, which looks suspiciously like zinc. Yeah, and that was bubbling away really furiously in the acid, and I'm thinking, oh God, why is that happening? I don't think this is supposed to happen. There shouldn't be zinc on stainless steel. This makes me think zinc coated mild steel, which should be really annoying considering these took me a very long time to make, and I'm now not even convinced that they're stainless. Oh dear. These are not stainless. The story with these parts is, I spoke to the supplier, and the first thing I said, oh, does the magnet stick to it? And blah blah, yes. They very quickly identified that I was not sent stainless, I was sent zinc plated steel. So anyway, the supplier is sending, well, has sent already, some actual stainless. The whole thing of magnet sticking to stainless, yes they can. It turns out where there's been a bend, they vaguely stick, but this is really light, right? This is very different from, I can pick the part up very easily with the steel. With this, on the bend, it's vaguely sticking, but still is stainless. On the, where it's straight, where there has been no bending, of course, it doesn't stick at all. So what to do? I don't really fancy remaking them. I could, but I've used this as a little bit of an excuse to find the positive in this. Of, I could never have actually fully designed these without mocking them up and actually trying to build them, like not perfectly, because the band's a complicated thing. I needed to try making these anyway. Where I'm going with this is I've actually designed them in 3D CAD, and I've sent them off to a company called Xometry in order for them to get professionally fabricated and bent to my exact specification. So basically I've got this exact design, well, very minor modifications made to it in 3D CAD, and they will make it to that specification, and they should basically just fit directly onto the van. I kind of wanted to see what it was like getting them professionally done from the CAD model anyway, and the Xometry website is amazing. I'll put some video of how that works, but the important bit is that you just upload your design. It's priced instantly. It's like Send Cut Send, but Send Cut Send's only available in the US. These are stainless. I don't need to do anything. These parts coming from the manufacturer in a few days, and they should just be a plug and play replacement. Big day. The parts have arrived from Xometry. These are these will be stainless steel. What they are also, hopefully, is basically direct copies of my lovely mild steel handmade counterparts. Let's see. Okay, individually wrapped, lovely. The size seems about right. They look amazing. I'm going to have to try them on the van. These look excellent. I made a small extra little modification, which is the bottom is essentially identical, slightly narrower because it doesn't actually need to be as wide as this. And then I got a lovely little taper here rather than the it's got slightly tapered rather than the flat on this one. And then the top is very slightly wider because these holes are too close to the edge. So I guess the thing I need to check is that the holes are the right size and everything fits that I expect. Looking good so far though. Pretty good. Excellent. Best news ever. On the one hand, I'm proud of the ones that I made by hand. They worked, they were accurate, they were good. They made out of the wrong material by mistake. But you also have to love these, right? They look so slick. I love them. And the only thing I needed to do, which I kind of knew I needed to do anyway, there's a tiny little, I had to add a little bit of a chamfer to these edges here, just to make them clear the mushroom-headed attachment point properly. Other than that, they're good to go.
In next week's episode, Roy offends the curator of this famous statue, and the roof rack saga continues. In next week's episode...
Words!